Well, Evan, right now fire crews, they brought in an excavator today to remove pieces of the roof that had collapsed. I'll actually step out of the way so you can see the extent of the damage that that fire did cause. Now, fire crews had to bring in that excavator because the fire chief tells me that there were mats that are used to cover rear speaker decks on a car. Those were actually smoldering together underneath the collapsed roof. So they had to bring in that excavator, remove pieces of the roof to get to those hot spots and put them out. That's what they focused primarily on today. And of course, we do have video from the fire last night, if we can show you that. Now, it did start around 5 o'clock last night. There were 100 people in the building at the time of the fire, but they did manage to get out safely. The fire chief tells me that the fire started in a spray booth in the production area at this plant, and of course, then spread to the roof. Now, the production area at this plant is 40% damaged, so pretty heavily damaged out here. A lot of damage you can see still, but of course, they are still trying to determine what exactly caused the fire.
Once the fire's out, we're going to conduct our investigation, and then we'll turn the building over to the business, and whatever they do from there is up to them.
Now, they did just pull the excavator out, so it looks like for the most part they are primarily done with their work today. Looks like they did manage to get to most of the hot spots, but of course we will stay on top of this story and bring you more as it develops. For now, we're live in Howell. Jessica Maki, 6 News.
He says, I now know what it is like to be on a ship during an earthquake. Very strange.
Tom Lights is using Facebook to stay connected during what is for many a very uncertain time. Tom's nephew Justin is in Japan working as a civilian contractor for the Navy. Justin was getting ready to deploy with the Navy on a ship when the earthquake roared through.
I was surprised he had to get out of the island, though. That's what surprised me more than anything.
Since the massive earthquake hit Japan, Tom and his dad Louis have been getting updates from Justin and other family members, all thanks to social media.
My sister posted on his Facebook page that he called her, said he was okay.
But the Lights family isn't the only ones using social media to stay connected. Many families have had trouble getting their loved ones by phone, but they're keeping in touch in other ways.
April Jones-Cole wrote on our WLNS Facebook page, Michael Chamberlain is a friend that grew up in Grand Ledge and lives in Kawasaki, west of Tokyo. He put on Facebook that he and his family are safe. We even had a viewer write us from Japan. Katie Jones from Ovid says she was at the Narita airport in Japan when the quake hit. She says she thought the building was going to collapse on her. She also says she has been able to keep in touch because she has internet at the airport, keeping communication lines open and bringing relief to families like the Lightses. Jessica Maki, 6 News.
Well, Lauren, yeah, I did speak with that MSU associate professor on the phone today. He studies physical medicine and rehabilitation, and he says at the point of impact of the disaster, people are first stunned and shocked. Initially, he says people go into survival mode, but once they're assured they're in a safe place, most begin to look for their loved ones. He says oftentimes following a disaster, people can seem as though they're functioning on autopilot. They can be very dependent and often respond well to direction from other people. He says that's because it takes people time to process what has happened.
People eventually come away from that, again, given the culture, given the experience with those types of events, and then given the kinds of support and rescue and how well organized the rescue effort is. So that reinforces a sense of personal control that has been shattered by the event.
And the professor says once people gain back their sense of personal control, that's when they can begin to move on. Live in the News Center, Jessica Maki, 6 News.
Flipped cars, crashing water, tangled debris. A chaotic and frightening scene in Japan.
It was really scary.
Elizabeth Mahoric is originally from Williamston, but now she and her family live in Yokosuka, Japan, about 200 miles from the earthquake's epicenter.
I've felt earthquakes here in Japan, but nothing like that.
Mahoric was driving home from a doctor's appointment with her 2 kids when she noticed something wasn't right.
The car felt like something was wrong with it, like the alignment was off and the wheel was jerking, and so I stopped the car, and then I looked around, and there were people running out of the buildings and grabbing onto trees.
That's when Mahoric drove to a friend's house for safety.
She's on a ground level home, and so every time we felt an aftershock, because there were quite a few of them, we would just go outside and just sit out in the yard because we were worried about the house collapsing.
And while the walls to that house and Mahoric's still stand, they didn't escape damage during the quake.
Some of my pictures fell off the walls. My son's bookshelf, all the books fell off of it, and like my baker's rack, I guess, moved away from the wall.
Still, she knows it could have been much worse.
I consider us lucky, but it was really scary for us too.
Jessica Maki, 6 News.